Nvidia has basically become the center of the universe for the AI revolution, and their latest financial results, they're honestly kind of hard to believe. But hiding inside this unbelievable success story is a massive, and I mean massive, geopolitical problem. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with a number that's, well, it's just hard to wrap your head around. $46.7 billion. That's Nvidia's revenue in its most recent quarter, for just 3 months of business. That's staggering.
And this wasn't just, a good quarter. It's a full-on explosion. That number represents a 56% increase over the same time last year. The speed of this growth is just completely off the charts, and it's all because everybody wants their technology.
So you gotta ask, right? How in the world does a chip company generate this kind of cash this fast? What are they selling that has literally the entire world lining up to buy it?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. Nvidia is selling the picks and shovels in the great AI gold rush. You've got all these companies racing to build the next big thing in AI, and Nvidia? They're the ones selling them the essential tools, in this case, the super powerful graphics processing units, or GPUs, that make any of it possible.
And if you want to know exactly where that boom is coming from, look no further. Of their almost $47 billion in revenue, over $41 billion came from just their data center business. This is the part of the company that sells chips directly to AI giants, and you can see it completely dwarfs everything else they do.
So what's the magic sauce here? Well, it all comes down to this. The Blackwell platform. This is their newest, most powerful generation of chips. It's the tech that companies like OpenAI and Google absolutely need to train and run their gigantic AI models. For all practical purposes, this is the engine of modern AI.
And the demand for this thing, it is just unbelievable. Of that $41 billion from the data center, a full $27 billion came from sales of the Blackwell platform alone. Think about that. One single product line is making more money than most entire corporations.
Nvidia's own CEO, Jensen Huang, really put it perfectly. He said, "The AI race is on, and Blackwell is the platform at its center." He sees his company's tech as the absolute foundation for this entire competition. And right now, the numbers totally back him up. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch.
Just when it seems like it's a story of nothing but unstoppable growth, we hit a huge geopolitical wall. The world's second largest economy, China, has suddenly become a massive, complicated problem for Nvidia.
So to try and get around US export rules, Nvidia actually designed a special chip just for the Chinese market, called the H20. So how much of that chip did they sell to Chinese customers last quarter? The answer is zero, a flat zero. But here's the weird part. They sold $650 million worth of that same chip to customers outside of China.
Okay, wait a minute. That makes no sense, right? Why would you design a product for a specific country and then sell absolutely none of it there? Well, the answer isn't simple. It's this messy tangle of politics, taxes, and business strategy. It really boils down to a perfect storm of 4 different things. First, the US slapped a new 15% export tax on these chips. Second, nobody's really sure how that new tax is going to work, creating a ton of uncertainty. Third, the Chinese government is now actively telling its own companies not to buy from Nvidia. And finally, with all that going on, Nvidia has reportedly just stopped making the H20 chip altogether.
And it's worth pointing out that this new US tax policy is really controversial. Some legal scholars have gone so far as to describe it as an unconstitutional abuse of power, which just shows you how intense the debate is around these tech trade rules.
So, with one of the biggest markets in the world effectively walled off, what in the world does that mean for Nvidia? I mean, you'd expect this to be a huge blow to their growth, right? Well, this is where the story takes another absolutely wild turn.
So after all that, this is Nvidia's revenue forecast for the next quarter. $54 billion. That is not a slowdown. That's a massive acceleration from the insane quarter they've just had.
So even with this huge China problem, the company is basically telling investors that the AI boom is so powerful, they're going to grow even faster. The demand from the rest of the world is just so enormous, it's more than making up for it.
And this right here is the kicker. This is the most important takeaway. That $54 billion forecast, it assumes zero sales to China. Their growth engine is so dominant everywhere else that they can literally absorb the loss of a key market and still project record-shattering growth. It's incredible.
So this all leaves us with a much, much bigger question, doesn't it? Nvidia's story shows that, for now, the AI boom can just find a way around a geopolitical wall. But what does that mean for the future?
Are we just watching the AI race find new routes to one single global destination, or are we seeing the very first cracks of a world where technology splinters into separate, competing ecosystems?